Hello and welcome back to the Data Privacy Lawyer. So it's Funmi behind the camera. Today's cookie policy audit is going to be on Swatch Group. So I wanted to change up what we're looking at on the channel. We've been doing a lot of privacy policy audits. I wanted to look at cookie policies, and eventually we're going to look at when organizations are putting out their artificial intelligence notices, because a lot of organizations are now starting to use artificial intelligence, whether it's they're integrating it, they're buying independent systems or applications, or they're trying to introduce it into how they operate their business. So I want to start looking at AI policies and notices as well. So let's look at the Swatch Group. We're looking at their cookie notice. So this is my first instance on their site. Excellent. We've been presented with a cookie banner. Now, because this is a cookie policy audit, obviously we're going to look at the cookie banner in depth. So we have this notice. I agree that this website uses cookies and similar technologies, and we're going to talk about similar technologies in this video, for providing me this website and its functionalities, for obtaining insights about its use, and for providing me with relevant advertisements. Now, this is very interesting, and we're going to take a deep dive into what ads are. Now, depending on the geography, I don't know that right off the bat, but I'm accessing the swatch.com site. So I know that at least at a minimum, that Swatch is providing goods and services in the United States. Okay, that's one thing. There are different data protection laws that put restrictions on how ads can be served to individuals. And the basis of that is consent must be obtained. So we're being presented with this cookie banner here. If I continued to use this site and I say accept cookies, I'm indicating my consent. I'm saying it's okay. You can use these cookies and you can provide me the relevant advertisements. If I'm not okay with the cookies, then this shouldn't be occurring as I interact with the site. Does that make sense? So that's the first thing. The other thing that I find interesting is that these buttons are different colors. Now, personally, for me, in 2025, I think all of the cookie buttons should all be the same color. I don't know why Swatch has decided to do the distinction, but that's something that consumers might not recognize up front. It's something that us as privacy counsel are attuned to because we look at the privacy laws as and when they change. Now, they do have a cookie notice, which we're going to look at. I'm going to look at my cookie settings. If you've watched any of my videos in the past, you already know that I always reject all the cookies, which should mean that if I'm interacting with a different site that is not Swatch, I should not be receiving ads related to Swatch products because I've opted out, right? Now, another really good practice that I like for organizations to do is I like them to provide insight on what constitutes a strictly necessary cookie. Most consumers aren't sophisticated with these terminologies and what they even mean. Most people are just going to agree. But I'm privacy counsel, so I take a look at what a company constitutes as strictly necessary, because this is also something that a lot of organizations often don't recognize, whether it's that they're allowing their cookie consent platform, in this case it's OneTrust, but there are other cookie consent platforms that allow organizations to have this cookie banner placed on their website. And you need to be careful if you're an organization into seeing what that consent management platform defines as strictly necessary, performance, functional, and advertisement. And that's one of the things that I do at my law firm. I help organizations decide if they need a cookie consent management platform and what the cookie consent management platform is even offering them and whether it's something they should sign up for. So let's take a look at advertising cookies, because this is probably the most regulated of the cookies. So these cookies may be set through our site by our advertising partners. Now, let me tell you what this means. It could mean a variety of things, but just from a foundational perspective, what happens is companies like Swatch, they'll enter into contractual agreements with advertising partners that help them give insights on what consumers are looking at. Let's say, for example, I go onto watches and there's a particular watch that I want. Every click that I make on this website, Swatch has gone into partnership with an advertising company, for example, and they've said, any consumer that's clicking on a specific watch, we want insights into which watch they're clicking on, because that helps Swatch know who they should advertise to. Organizations have lots of different products. Some products are more popular than others. Like, think about this. I'm pretty sure that there's a specific product that organizations like Gucci have recognized people buy a lot. Maybe it's the belt. Maybe the belt is very popular. One of the ways that Gucci is able to evaluate that the belt is popular is every time somebody clicks on the belt on the website, they're able to get insights from their advertising partners, for example. Now, I don't know exactly what Swatch is doing. I'm just opining based on my insight in this industry. The relationship between the advertising partners and Swatch is varied depending on what they're asking the advertising partner to do. Every company has different products. The advertising partners have different products that they offer to organizations like Swatch on what types of ads or information an organization wants. So what they're saying here is the cookies may be set through their site, Swatch, or by an advertising partner that Swatch is in contractual relationships with. They may be used by these companies to build a profile, okay? Now, building a profile is very interesting language in the privacy space because profiling is heavily restricted and heavily regulated under data protection laws, depends on geography. Now, anything that I say on this channel is dependent on my insights based on what a consumer is seeing. I don't have the insights into what's happening in the background. I'm just giving you general oversights into what I see through my practice when I'm working with my clients and when I see different things online. The first thing I will say about Swatch is that it's really good that we were presented with the cookie banner. The second thing is that the language that they've used, I feel like, is good in line with the tone for the audience. Most consumers don't know what building a profile looks like, and what it generally is, organizations will collect data on an individual from different repositories and they'll build a profile about you. Let's say, for example, in one instance, they know that you have a name. Maybe you submitted a form on their website saying, I want more insights about Swatch watches. And then in conjunction with their relationship with the advertising partner, they know that your name is associated with clicking on a specific watch. So what happens is they'll put those two pieces of information together, even though they collected them differently, and they'll build a profile about your interests and then subsequently show you relevant advertisements on the site. So that's what this is basically saying. So if I click in, if I was to interact with the Swatch watch and I start clicking on any of these watches, it may be that Swatch is able to gather information about me from different sites, put that together, and then if I click on Amazon, for example, I might start seeing ads about this specific watch. That's how all of this functions together. And that's one thing that consumers aren't clear about. And it's important from a privacy perspective for Swatch as an organization to provide you notice that this is even happening if you're a consumer. Now, I always click off, and I really wanted us to get to the cookie notice, but I think it's really important for you to understand this preference section. One, as an organization, what does your business need? And two, as a consumer, because a lot of this language is alien to consumers. And one thing that we do at the Data Privacy Lawyer is we try and provide education to businesses. What does the business even need to know? A lot of businesses are focused on sales. They're focused on, building their products. They don't know what goes into the privacy component. And one thing I tell all my clients is, if you have a customer, you process personal data. That's just a fact of the matter. In relationship to you processing personal data, there are laws associated with how you can use that data. So that's why I always take a look at this. Some cookie banners and some of these manage consent preference sections, the language is varied. You won't always see this definition for advertising cookies. One, because the consent management platform defines advertising cookies differently. And two, the type of advertising that an organization does may vary as well. So I'm not going to allow all, I never do. I only allow those that are strictly necessary. One thing that I found is interesting since doing these audits is some companies have tied in functional cookies with strictly necessary cookies. The distinction is very, very important, which is why it's very important if your organization is looking to get into a relationship with a consent management platform like OneTrust, to take a look at what the definition is of what strictly necessary is and functional is and get a good understanding of this. If your organization is looking into partnering with a management platform and you want privacy counsel to help you in the negotiations or the discussions, take a look at my description below. I'd love to speak with your organization and help you decide which management platform is for you. So we're going to confirm my choices. Okay. So this cookie notice is in regarding the cookies of the Swatch Group, and then they provide their address. So we already knew from the URL that they were in the United States, but we can also see that they are located in the US through the address. Some cookie notices don't provide this information, so it's actually not clear where the organization is operating from. And then we can also see that this was last updated July 10, 2025. That's excellent. This is really, really good. And I'll tell you why this is really good. We've done plenty of privacy policy audits on this channel in the past, and sometimes the cookie notices don't actually provide the date when it was last updated, so it's not clear. And I'll tell you why this is very important. How cookies are utilized by an organization generally will change based on the offerings of the organization. And when I say offerings, I'm talking about goods and services. Most organizations are changing the goods and services that they provide at least on an annual basis. The offerings change, and that influences how the website operates. Let's say, for example, and I don't know this for a fact, the watches that Swatch offers, like the women's watches, it may be they've provided a new option. It may be that Swatch Neon collection wasn't offered last year. So they've changed a component of their site, which could influence how cookies operate on the site, right? The cookie that you offered for a watch from 2024 may not be the same cookie for the Swatch Neon collection because this is a new offering. And I don't know that for a fact, I'm just opining. If they're providing this as a brand new product and you're seeing this product on Amazon, for example, that means that the cookie offerings may have changed because the product has changed. And that's how this ties into the changes to the website, which is why it's really important to put the last time that your cookie notice was updated on the site. Now, we don't have a lot of time to talk about this cookie notice. We spent a lot of time on the banner and the consent management preferences, but it's really important for your notice to be transparent about how you use cookies. Whenever I'm doing these reviews, I always look at that banner that we were originally presented. I always look at managing of the preferences because what happens sometimes is the business will go into a relationship with a consent management platform, but the consent management platform will update as the laws update, right? But your cookie notice may not because you as a business are responsible for your own cookie notice. The consent management platform is responsible for the banner that is presented to consumers when they land on your website. So there's a lot that goes into this cookie notice, which is why I wanted to talk a lot about it on my channel. If your business is looking for assistance with either drafting a cookie notice or a relationship with a consent management platform, take a look at the description below. But overall, I think it's really important for businesses to, one, recognize that a cookie constitutes personal data because it identifies an individual. And two, if your company doesn't have a cookie notice and you have a website, that's something that you need to really look into because it's very important in 2025 for you to be transparent given the climate that we're in related to processing of personal data. Consumers are very sophisticated now. Your organization can't get away with just having a privacy notice. You need to have a cookie notice too if you have a website that utilizes cookies. So I really hope you enjoyed this audit today. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at the email below, and I'll see you in another cookie notice audit.